A couple of Bible verses that I quite like. There are a couple of short Bible verses that I like to apply to my own situation, to where I stand today in relation to Christianity. Of course, I realise that I'm taking these verses completely out of context and twisting them to serve my own nefarious purposes. But used in this way, they really do speak to me. When you're a Christian, particularly an evangelical fundamentalist Christian, you're trapped in a complex web of lies and self-deception. The reason there are so many apologists for Christianity is that Christianity is inconsistent, incoherent, and intrinsically unbelievable. Now, an apologist is someone who speaks or writes in defense of someone or something that is typically controversial, unpopular, or subject to criticism. Christianity is all of those things. Christians are supposed to be evangelizing, spreading the good news. However, a huge chunk of their time is spent simply defending the things they believe in against criticism. They're constantly on the defensive, defending the indefensible, justifying the unjustifiable, and explaining the inexplicable. For instance, if they believe in a literal worldwide flood and Noah's Ark, they have to waste their time trying to explain how this could actually be true, how it could actually have happened, in defiance of history, science, and common sense. But even if they were to succeed in this futile task, they would then have to explain how such an event, the destruction of the entire human race and most animal species in the world, how this event could ever be morally justified. If they believe in a supremely good and omnipotent God, they're constantly trying to find ways to account for the existence of evil and suffering in the world. If they believe in the Trinity, which Orthodox Christianity does, but which is not, incidentally, a biblical concept, but if they believe in this Trinity, they're forced to waste their time proving, first of all, that it actually is biblical, although it isn't, but then, having done that, they have to give some kind of coherent, rational explanation for the concept. And they've been doing that for a very, very long time now. Of course, the problem arises from their need to maintain both the humanity and divinity of Christ, another Herculean task. And of course, this is something that the historical Jesus did not claim for himself, although, again, they will want to prove that he did. There are many, many, many more problems, more the further you dig. And Christians twist themselves into a pretzel to explain them all. Eventually, of course, you realise that there are just too many holes in the boat to be able to plug them all, to switch the metaphor, and each time you do plug one hole, another leak appears somewhere else. Eventually, you realise the truth, and yes, the truth will set you free. And the truth is that there's no good reason at all to believe any of this. And once you accept that, you can uncurl your body from its contorted position and actually breathe again. The truth does indeed set you free. People who pray or just hope that I will return to God sometime in the future think they're wishing a good thing for me. But why would I put myself back into that particular straitjacket or jail cell? They don't realise what a relief it is not to have to believe all that stuff, and constantly to have to justify these beliefs to yourself, first of all, and then to others. Why would anyone go back to that? The only weapon that Christians actually have in their armoury is fear. If you don't accept God and Jesus into your life, you'll burn in hell for all eternity. This appeals to the more primitive parts of our brain, such as the amygdala. And they use this appeal a lot, particularly evangelical Christians. But if it works, it's a hollow victory. So I like that particular phrase from the Bible, the truth will set you free. The other passage I particularly like is from Paul in 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. Leaving Christianity behind is just like this. It is to grow up. And that's also true if you leave the more fundamentalist churches and move into a more liberal, progressive church. These are steps towards growing up. Believing in a God or gods makes some kind of sense when we have very little understanding of the world around us. The world is very mysterious and somewhat frightening. It's easy to imagine that unseen forces, both good and evil, are at work in the world. In a way, these are almost scientific explanations for what we see going on around us. Given our limited understanding of the world, the idea that unseen spirits are active in the world is quite rational. It ceases to be rational once we understand the world better, when we see the world more clearly. This applies to the human species as a whole, but also to each of us as individuals. As a species, we now understand so much more about the world than we did before the advent of science. Of course, there are a lot more mysteries to be solved, but we know we've solved such mysteries in the past, and we can have some confidence that we will go on solving them in the future, if we survive long enough. Similarly, when we're children, so much seems mysterious and frightening, but gradually we come to understand more about how the world works, and we gradually let go of childish beliefs. Most of us let go of most of them, that is. But one that some people cling to is the belief in God. I can see why people would like to believe that they're still children with God as their father, but we're not. We have to take responsibility for our own actions and for the welfare of the human race and this planet, our home. No one, no divine father, no God, is going to do that for us. Letting go of God is part of growing up. It's time to put the ways of childhood behind us. To those who wish I would return to God at some point, I can no more believe in God again than I can believe in the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, or Santa Claus, or the Boogie Monster under my bed. And yes, I put belief in a spirit in the sky in the same category as these things, however sophisticated you might try to make this particular belief sound. I've grown up. I don't need an invisible friend. There's no going back, nor do I have any desire to return to the imagined innocence of childhood. Again, fear is the tactic that many Christians will resort to in order to terrify my inner child. Again, I say, if that should sometimes work, take no pride in that. It's a hollow victory. The truth has set me free. I'm all grown up now.